Well, the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, facing now one of his bigger challenges in 20 years in power. More than 50,000 protesters marching over the weekend in Moscow demanding economic and political reform. Here now is Dan Henninger from the Wall Street Journal, also a Fox contributor. The Hong Kong protesters, Dan, are obviously getting a lot of attention, but how significant is it, what's been happening over in Russia, do you think?
Well, it's absolutely fascinating, Connell. I'm not sure you can really separate the two protests. I mean, if you look closely at them, both of them are just full of young people. And it has a kind of eerie resemblance to me of the glasnost opening era of the 1980s and 1990s in Eastern Europe, except that most of these people didn't know what was going on then. But like people back then, they did understand that they didn't have freedom. They didn't want free elections. And back then, you just were not able to communicate that much to one another because you were so repressed. Now, things are entirely different. I mean, that protest in Moscow was supposedly officially approved, but I don't think they expected 50,000 people to show up. And one of the things that the Russians did this past weekend was try to order YouTube to stop broadcasting the mass demonstrations live. So you've got the phenomenon now of media elevating protests, whether in Hong Kong or in Moscow, to the whole world's attention simultaneously. That is a new factor.
It was interesting in Hong Kong at first. The Chinese state media, they were censoring everything or not reporting on it and censoring international media. And even there, now they've started reporting on what's happening in Hong Kong and trying to spin it, which maybe adds to or leads people to believe China is more concerned, or I'm not sure how to read into that, but it's definitely been a change in how media has gone about it there as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, both the Chinese government and indeed the Russian government are going to try to manipulate what's going on inside the media. I mean, make no mistake, the Russian people are not seeing the same kind of reporting of those protests in Moscow that we're seeing.
Right.
The Russian media is completely manipulated, as the media in China. But that aside, it still remains to be seen whether these young demonstrators are able to stand up against Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. Now, make no mistake, Xi and Putin fully understand what's going on. They see this as a threat to their authority and power, and they are willing to use any means at their disposal to repress it. And for no question about it, they have overwhelming firepower. They can put down these demonstrations if they wish to. The question is, what effect will that have on the world's views of the Chinese government and the Russian government?
Yeah, the risks,
presuming they care.
The risks associated with that, right? The China learned about those in Tiananmen Square, and Russia's had its own history. But it is the other interesting part about it, and they share this in common, is both Russia and China, in the case of Hong Kong, have tried to use what's going on the protest side to spin it and say that it's the Americans' fault. They both said, hey, stay out of our internal affairs. So even if the United States is not involved, the other countries saying that we're involved, is there a role here to play or something that needs to be done from the Trump administration's point of view?
Well, I think the Trump administration could elevate the Hong Kong protesters more than they have. There's a lot at stake there. But, you know, we are in a new era. The Russians and the Chinese government have overwhelming force and power to use against these demonstrators. The question is what they're doing on the streets, what the whole world is seeing, is that going to turn out being a force equal to what can be used against them? We're going to find out.
Yeah, we'll watch both in the coming days. Dan, always good to see you. Thanks a lot. Dan Henninger. Okay.